initiative by Mumbai on an initiative by Mumbai University, and that was to the kids directly. And their intent was that uh, if the kids get to use this technology of coins and understand this method of coin collecting, study coins, it would be a good hobby, can taken up as a passion later, can almost be taken up as a career if required, and it will keep them away from all the social media time that they try to spend, because it's a hobby which you can participate into. So sorry, there's some light fluctuation that went on. So I think this initiative is much greater than that one, because we are trying to induce that understanding of coins in teachers and professors, who by themselves can then further educate the kids. So with that said, let me start with the presentation. I'm just going to check what's happening with the lights around. Yeah, so just give me a second. Okay, we seem to be good. Thanks for that. So sharing my screen now. Are you able to see my screen right now?
Yes, yes, perfect.
Sure. So what we are going to look at today is more on introduction to coins. So when we talk of a coin, and I would really appreciate if all of you can keep some of the coins that are available with you in your home handy. Might be a 10 rupee coin or a 5 rupee coin. So when we talk, you also understand what exactly or how exactly one should look at a coin, the current coin, and then we will also look at the historic coins that I have, right? So when we talk of sides of a coin, the first side is called the obverse, or the front, where you have the head of the king, or in our coins that we have, the place where we have the Ashokan emblem coming out there, right? So that's called the front or the heads when we do heads and tails, right? So that's the front side of the coin. The second side of the coin is the back side, where you would have a design, so either a image of our parliament, or sometimes just 5 rupees written or 10 rupees written, or image of Mahatma Gandhi. Those are the designs that the government or Reserve Bank of India keeps issuing on the coin. So that's the back side of the coins, which I think all of us out here are aware right from our childhood. If you consider the edge, many times when you look at a coin, start observing the edge of the coin, right? So if you consider that edge as the third side of the coin, and the beauty of the edge is you will sometimes have a plain edge, sometimes it has a reeded lined edge, sometimes you could have something written on the edge as well. So if you are not, whenever you get a coin, see if you can start looking at the edge of the coin as well. So that's the third side of the coin. But what I am generally interested, or what I generally look at, is the fourth side of the coin. Can anyone think of or tell me what would be the fourth side of a coin? One is the heads, the tails, the edge. What do you think would be the fourth side of a coin?
Kindly unmute yourselves and interact. Don't worry about right and wrong answers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's while it could be formal discussion from your perspective, but for me, it's a very informal discussion. Right, while we will have a good session of knowledge that is being shared, but I'm really expecting you to discuss, talk, and answer or ask questions. So yeah, go ahead. The wrong answer is not a problem. All right, so what we are going to do is very quickly, I'm going to ask someone to answer, right? So can we have, and I hope they are not the professors here, Suzanne DeMello, to answer this question. What, Suzanne, do you think could be the fourth side of the coin?
Sir, I think the fourth side could be the part where we have the year also written or something.
Okay, good. Thanks, Susan. Good perspective. That's Swapnali. What do you think? What could be the fourth side of the coin? Think of it from a study perspective. What could be the fourth side of the coin? Swapnali, I'm just going in the order.
Maybe their crops, sowing, etc.
All right. So when we study coins, I look at the fourth side of the coin as the story behind the coin, why this coin was minted, how the coin was minted. So the story that goes behind every coin that comes up uh, is what I look at as the fourth side of the coin, right? So let's try to understand how someone looks at a coin. So a basic understanding of a coin, right? It is a piece of metal, right? So again, it is a piece of metal. It has a prescribed weight. So typically, every coin will have certain weight, around 9 grams to 11 grams is how they weigh. Uh, it has a design and a logo and legends. It's minted on direction of an authority, and that is the most important part of a coin, right? So you could also get a medal from a jeweler's shop. Right, you could also have something minted on a metal piece, but the only piece of metal that is treated as a coin is minted on direction of an authorities. In India, it is the Indian government, right, or the Reserve Bank of India. So that is one of the most important factors to call any piece of metal that has certain legends and things written on it. For it to be called as a coin that can be used in transaction, it should be minted on the direction of an authority. And the last part is it should be used for exchange, right? So if it is not used for exchange, you cannot call it a coin. So that's a basic definition of a coin. uh, Basic knowledge of history, study of history behind coins, grading and authentication of coins, updating with new discoveries, current market trends. And one important thing to understand or study coins is the knowledge of scripts, right? So in the ancient coins that we have, typically we will have inscriptions written in Brahmi, and we will see those coins as we move ahead. Kharosti, the foreign influence that has come in, the coins are having Greek legends on it. Sharda, Arabic and Persian, a lot of Mughal and Sultanate period coins have Arabic and Persian. Devnagari, so a lot of Maratha coins, even in South India, they have Devnagari, either it is Marathi, Hindi, or some derived language out of those alphabets. And finally, English, typically on coins minted in India by the British or by the Portuguese or the French, they typically have the script as English. Coin also gives you a good career option if you really choose that as a field of specialization, and there are specializations in the field as well. So you can be a curator and keeper at a museum. So there are people who are curators and keepers at Oxford University, right? There are people who are also curators at Ashmole. The Reserve Bank of India has a good museum, and the person who heads that museum is also a coin expert. So that is the kind of career options people do have. You can be part of research institutes, something like Asiatic Society of India. You can be part of an auction houses. These days, a lot of auction houses is coming in place. They help you auction the coins that are there in somebody has and they want to sell. There are auction houses that are brought up in place, and they have their own rules which are given by the government of India. So one can be part of that auction house. Archaeology and Conservation Department also has a special team who only deals with coins. So many times when they're excavating a specific site, uh, they find coins, right? And that team also needs people who can understand coins. One very close example is in Vasai Sopara. There is a Buddhist stupa which was excavated somewhere in 1860 around by a person called Bhagwan Lal Indraji, and they have found coins there. Uh, And when they found those coins there, they were able to date uh, the antiquity of the entire place, because coins are like one of the primary sources. They many times have the legends of the king and the dates on it, and just by looking at that you can understand the entire setup at that place was dated how long back. And that's why they say, in Sopara it has been dated since Maurya times, because they are finding coins from that times as well as the Ashokan edict from that time, right? You can always be a lecturer with history where there are specialization in coins. So university has departments that only specialize in coins. You can become a professor in coins there, and definitely an author of certain books and catalogs. Now, with that said, if you have a coin with you, uh, in this image that has been put up over here, the denomination, so 10 that is written is the denomination. There is a rim. So there is a difference between an edge and a rim, right? So the rim is when you hold the coin, and if you try to move your hand around it, you will find it protruding out. That's the rim of the coin. The beside side of the coin is the edge. What is wherever there is no minting that has happened, that's called the field of the coin, right? And that's one of the important places from where people who study coins can identify whether the coin is fake or it's original coin. Because when you press a die on a coin, that field part where there is no inscription that has come up, uh, how exactly, how smooth, how rough that has come in, based on the force of a die, one can really predict the coin is original or fake. The Ashokan emblem or any such design is called the design or the device of the coin. There is a date that exists on the coin, the legend. So in this case, India is the legend, and the motto. All Indian coins you will always find Satyameva Jayate. Similarly, in US coins, you will have the motto related to liberty. So that's called the motto of a coin. Below the date, always there is either a dot or a no dot. So if there is no dot, the coin is minted in Calcutta Mint. But if there is a dot out there, the coin is minted in Mumbai Mint. So if you have a coin with you, try to see below the date. Are you able to check whether it has a dot or it does not have a dot? And then, like, there is a star, which means it's a Hyderabad Mint, right? So this is something with the recent coins that we do. Now, how exactly has this system developed is something that we need to understand. And the earliest form we all know, there was a barter system that existed. So basically, if you wanted to get some grains, you exchange that for a goat, and got grains or rice or something that you can eat with. That was the kind of system that existed. We all know that. The question would be that what would be the advantages and disadvantage of this kind of a system, where, like, earlier it was working well, right? You give a quantity of rice, you take a quantity of wheat, and that exchange works absolutely fine. Any thoughts why that system really moved ahead and people thought of introducing coins?
Um,
Any views?
so during that times, it was realized that certain goods had the value more than the other goods. Like if they were exchanging rice and oil, so the value of oil was more than the rice.
Perfect. That's a very nice answer. That is a true statement. What would be the other reasons? There are a few more reasons to it. So that the goods are of different value, they are of different quantity. What could be the other reasons that people felt that, oh, this system is not working? So let's say if I had to exchange, I am a cattle breeder and I have a goat farm, and there is someone who sells rice. But, like, a quantity of rice in exchange for a goat may not be the right transaction value. So do I cut a specific thing into a half? Uh, right? Very difficult to do that. If I had to move across places, right? So if I want to move from Vasai to Mumbai and get something done, that really worked fine. But if I had to really move from one end of India to other end, so let's say from Delhi to the South India, the goods that you are really trying to exchange could perish, right? There could be perishable goods, or there could be too heavy to travel along with. And that's where the system was having certain disadvantages and was not working in correct favor of this entire system. So one of the important things for the development of this coin as a technology was the, I'm just going to switch off these lights. All right, I hope you are able to hear and see me well. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So one of the important systems for coin to come into perspective was having the development of measurements and scale, right? So you able to weigh certain thing, as you see in the current slide. You are able to weigh certain things, and hence, like, you could use certain precious stones to weigh and exchange a good for it. Uh, but after some point of time, whether that thing was useful to other people was also a question. And the key thing that started getting accepted across regions was use of precious metal, typically gold and silver, which are acceptable everywhere even today, right? So if you take a piece of gold and you move to any country outside, right? So if you go to Dubai, you go to UK, you go to US, uh, if the gold is pure, people will accept that metal just because of its intrinsic value. Similar is the case with silver, but it may not necessarily be the case if you really try to do that with copper. So certain precious metal were really getting accepted, and the advantage, as you can see on the slide, of having metal being used is it was easily divisible. You were able to break it, slice it, make it to a certain weight. It was durable, right? So if I am moving from one place to another, uh, it would not perish. It would stay there, and even after years, the metal exists, and that's the reason we still get coins from, like, ancient Asia. So it is durable. It has an intrinsic value. At any point of time, this precious metal have an intrinsic value of itself. So for example, if you're going to sell gold, it has some value today, right? Something 50,000 or 70,000 for 10 grams, which is 1 tola. For silver also, right, it is like 77 rupees per gram. So there is an intrinsic value in the market that can be used, and it was easy to work with. So these were, like, the barter system had its own disadvantages. There were measurement systems that were in place, and that helped make using metal as a piece of exchange or transaction pretty easy. The other point to understand is, while these transactions were happening, the question is, why would people have to transact so much, or, like, exchange so many things? And one important point to understand in this subject is the development of civilization, right? So Indus Valley civilization is one of those examples in India, which happens 3,200 years before the Common Era, and they had certain setup. They were able to make crafts. They were able to make pottery. Right? Why would they need so many pots? A lot of pots have been found there, right? Because they were able to store food grains, which means there was a lot of farming that was happening in these areas. They were able to store those food grains in pots, and it went to an extent where what to do with those food grains, right? So you had to sell them or exchange them, and you can't sell them in neighborhood as well, because everyone is able to farm and grow all these rice, wheat crops. So they had pottery to store it, and then there was a need to really exchange it with someone who is not in the neighborhood. It had to be exchanged to faraway places. Uh, and you find these seals in the Indus Valley or the Harappa civilization, right? These seals. If you notice on the top, the language of symbols, right? So they have a lot of these symbols written on, and there is an animal or a superficial animal on these seals. And many times when the exchange of Indus Valley civilization is been seen, they find these seals within what has got traded. What typically got traded there was ivory, timber, beads, wheat and barley. So the marks on these seals, typically they feel it's a language that the Harappan people used, but they are just not able to decipher it for us to read, right? So the history that is written and we know is called history, right? The history that is not written and you like excavate and then make a reference and try to figure out based on contemporary references or something that is written in the scriptures and relate with a specific site uh, is called prehistory. So in world generally there is either history and prehistory, but India there is one intermediate form of history which is called as proto-history, which is they have written, right? The Indus Valley civilization people have written, but we are not able to read. And people are still trying to read. So that's proto-history. They have written, they're trying to tell us something, but we are not able to read. And this seals could have been used in a form of coins, but for that we'll have to first read them to really confirm on that aspect. So from there, where we move is the invention of coins. Now, what happened was that if I really started exchanging pieces of silver or gold uh, in the transaction, what really happened was people started putting in impure silver or impure gold and tried to exchange, or they just coated a silver copper plate uh, with silver or gold, and they tried to exchange that as silver, and that was considered as a very huge crime. But if you're trading, the person traded with that metal piece which is a duplicate metal piece, so he said this is silver but really it was copper. And hence there was a requirement for that piece of silver or that piece of gold to be authenticated by a ruler or the governing body, right? And that's why in the first point, when we talk of coins or what is the definition of coins, other than everything else, the most important thing was that it is issued by a government authority. It is not just that anyone can stand up and say, I'm going to give you coins, right? So the first coin that we have seen came because of these reasons, and they're seen in Asia Mirror, which is somewhere in the European side, China, and India. Coins got developed in a independent way in all these places, and these all places had a civilization that was getting developed as well. The first coin in India is called a bent bar that you see on the screen right now, and it is from a city-state kind of a system that we had at that time, which is called a Janapada, which is like where people are really electing the ruler, right? And it comes from a place called Gandhara. So it is called the bent bar from Gandhara. The first coin comes in 600 BC. Can anyone tell me when you hear this coin is called bent bar from Gandhara Janpada? Gandhara, do you know where exactly Gandhara is famously referenced? Typically somewhere in the scriptures. Can anyone tell me Gandhara?
Mahabharat.
And who is referred with that name?
The king of Gandhar and Gandhari.
Perfect. Perfect. That's really nice. So Gandhari was from Gandhar, which is on the northwest side, right in Mahabharata. And this coin is from the same place, from 600 BC. Right? So it's a silver block, and they have minted a symbol, and that symbol has been shown on the side, right? So there is a circle, and there are lines that are coming out of it, and it is looped in with circles out there. It's the symbol of that state, which is Gandhara, right? And there are many more such states that were in presence, and every state had its symbol. So that's how we are able to recognize that these coins are from that state, and specifically they are found when excavations are happening in those places. Now trade, right? We talk of trade. These coins were really needed with all the other disadvantages. When I had to trade with various places across the world, uh, carrying perishable goods was difficult. Carrying coins which were authenticated by a ruler was really easy and acceptable as well, right? Still, they had that option to check the purity of silver. But once the confidence built with a specific symbol of a king, the trader was very confident that he can accept those coins. But did trade really happen? Right? That's the question. Did trade really happen in that time? And there is this trade route that is existing, right? It has been there for quite some time. And if you see this red route coming from Macedonia, right, that it moves across Syria, that it comes from there further to Afghanistan, right, and then from there it reaches India, right. There is also this place called Bacteria around Afghanistan. Do you know who must have used this route specifically to travel to India? Well, there are many people, but who?
Alexander the Great.
Alexander the Great, absolutely. He has used this route for his conquest. So the route is thousands of year old, right? Uh, Second, urbanization, which is more of like, there was a lot of cutting of trees around places which had rivers, a lot of fertile land, growth of a lot of rice, wheat crops, abundance of food. People didn't have to move around to get food, right? They were able to settle at a place, generate food, and then they had time. What to do with that time, right? So either you create goods that can be used to play to help you store those grains. We talk of pottery, so they were able to generate pottery, but they generated pottery in a very specific way. It is called the northern black polished ware, right? Whenever you find that pottery in an exhibition, you can relate that, oh, this is related to like, somewhere around 600 to 300 BC kind of period, because they had that technology of making pots. It's not easy, right? We find it easy now, but then it was not easy. And these are the Janapadas and the Mahajanapadas, like, so cities and a bigger city that existed in that time. Gandhari is one of them. You can see it in the northwest, right? The other important one out here is Magadha. Any guesses? Magadha, who was ruling Magadha in that period, 600 BC, 300 BC, who was the ruler out there? Can someone tell me? The Magad Empire. So the Ashokan king, right? That's the Mauryan king. They really ruled from Magad. So these are the cities which later on were fully controlled by the Ashokan Empire, and that was a time. That was a time when they were building pottery, and they started issuing coins which had various symbols now, right? So if you see at the coin on the right, there is a man. There are symbols that have just listed below the coin. So there is a man who is standing with a stick. Then there are this third symbol from the right is mountains. So those are like, they are called three arched mountains. They have three arches. You can see a circle with like, protruding arrows coming out, and there is sun that is existing there as well, right? And this mark, which is just beside the sun, is specifically from a place called Ujjain, right? This period also made lot of use of iron, like, iron was discovered and was used heavily because it was so strong. You were able to cut trees. But at that time, since there was so much fertile land and availability of water in India, Alexander really started moving towards India to like, get hold of the region. This is the coin of Alexander, which is at the bottom right. Okay, and the face is of Hercules, a Greek god, but he's trying to represent, Alexander is trying to represent himself as Hercules. And on the right, there is the weapons that Alexander has used, right? And do you think you can read what is written over here in the middle? Do you think you can read that? So this is a coin that I am really discussing, right? Are you able to see it? Might be. Can you see the coin?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it is the same coin that is at the bottom right, right? So this is the arrow, bow and arrow that he has, and this is the face of the king, which is Alexander. Do you think you can read what is written out here? All right, let's try it this way. Can you read this? Make it a
So
try.
it's AAAAN, then triangle and POY.
What is that triangle? Do we refer that triangle in maths somewhere?
Yeah, it's
Yes,
delta.
sir.
All right. So what do you think that could typically be the reading now? AAAN delta POY. What would you read that as? So it is Alexander, yeah. The delta is read as D. It is a Greek script, not exactly English, and hence you may not find all the letters matching what you know in English. But delta is one of it that you read as D, right? So, and it is Alexander Roy. It is written as POY, but it is Alexander Roy, right? So now if you look at the coin again, here it is written. Can you read that now? E A T, Alexander, right? So look at the coin that is getting minted in India, right, which has, like, symbols in a certain fashion. A man is shown, but you can't really, it's a very symbolic way to represent a person. While in case of Alexander, he's very clearly able to show his nose, his mouth, his eye, uh, right? So it is a difference in technology that when he comes from Greek, he comes with a technology, while in India, we are still building up that technology, right? Can anyone make sense out of this picture? It's from a Hindu scripture. Can anyone make a sense what it really represents? So what is this over here? Can someone tell me what I'm highlighting?
X.
That's an act.
An axe, right? And what do you call it in, like, Hindi or Marathi, an axe?
Kurhad.
Kurada, or you also call it as Parshu. So who would be this man? He's
Parshuram.
Parshuram.
perfect. That's perfect. So that's Parshuram, right? Avatar of Ram who comes with an axe. And who could this person be over here?
Lord Vishnu.
So he's
No.
the sea god, right? He is the sea god. And this specifically scene is really representing when the sea god tries to occupy the land of northern Konkan, and Lord Parshuram stops him by throwing the axe in water, and the seas had to recede back. And that is northern Konkan, which is like the place we are sitting along with that entire coast. So this is a scriptural story, right? And if you look at this coin, right, which is again a similar coin that I showed you on the first slide, but can you see this man over here with, like, hands and an axe? Can you make this
Yes,
up?
sir.
Yeah, so this is the head, these are his arms. One arm is in the air, one arm is holding an axe, and then, like, these are his legs. So that's Lord Parshuram. And just see if you can see it from the cover, otherwise I'm going to remove that for you. Are you able to make out the man with an axe at the bottom over here?
Yeah, we can see that same kind of a
Perfect.
image.
So yeah, so that's this is a silver coin. It is 3.4 grams of silver, right, which is representing Parshuram. And if you just tilt this coin, so Parshuram is in the reverse now, and you see a bull or an ox, and you see a person who is riding the bull and an ox. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So this is basically the farming scene that is being shown. So Lord Parshuram, if you really go back and read the history, he is known for modernization or building up of cities, right? And that's where he builds or puts up farms with, like, the most modern technology that was available there. So you could see the wheel, you could see trees over here, and you could see a person farming with a bull or an ox. And again, you see the symbol, which really indicates the place from which, or the area from which the coin has come in, right? So this is how you are really able to relate a scriptural definition or what is written there with what we find in coins, right? Now, after the descent of the Maurya Empire, which is the Ashokan Empire, after they were reduced in their power later after the Mauryan Empire, Satvana kingdom became one of the most powerful kingdom in India, right? And now they have advanced to a coin style where they have written something on the coin, right? Can someone help me read this? Do you think you can read this? So there is an elephant over here. There is a symbol. This is called an Ujjain symbol, a cross with circles. Can someone read what is written over here? Do you think you can make an attempt? So similar kind of coin, since you have seen this on the picture, I'm going to show you a different coin of the same kingdom, right? Can you see an elephant at the bottom over here? Okay, I take that as an yes for now. Right, and then there is a swastik symbol on top of the elephant, and there is something written. But the question was, can you read it? And I'm sure you can't, because this is written in Brahmi. Yeah, because this is written in Brahmi. This is written in Brahmi, so definitely I don't expect you to read it. But if you know Brahmi, as like being part of history or being part of the ancient scripts that are there, you would be able to read this coin. And typically the king who has issued the coin will be able to talk to you, right? Now, this coin is again comes. So once Alexander goes back, right? So he comes here, he gets tired or whatever reasons that he has, he goes back, but he leaves certain kings from his area into various places in India. And one of the kings that he leaves behind is called Meandrus. So this is that king, right? And if you could see, this is the coin of that king, right? And what is written on over here, if you can read it as you read Greek earlier, Basileus, right, which means king. And here, if you can read Menan D delta again DROY. So this is King Meandroy, right? So Basileus, King Meandroy. Now he has written the same thing, this Greek king, because he is coming with a foreign influence, but he wants to ensure that the coins are getting circulated in India, right? And hence he writes in Indian script as well. This is Kharoshti, but they have also written in Brahmi, right? So these are the two ancient Indian scripts that are there on the coin. And here he writes Basileus is king, and here he writes instead Maharaja, which is an Indian version of a Basileus or a king. And then he writes in Kharoshti or Brahmi Meandrus. Now here you are not able to read this coin, and no one was able to read Brahmi script. Even the Ashokan edicts, they said it's a ghost script because they were just not able to read it. And here is a Greek coin which people are able to read. So you're able to read DAMNRD. So you're able to figure out what these letters are. You're able to now relate, because in English and the same name is written on the other side. So Meandrus is written over here. So this is definitely a monk. And that crackdown of that script was done by this person called James Prinsep of the East India Company. He was able to decipher it, and then people were able to start reading it. So he said, oh, this is a sir. Yeah, so try to see if you can learn it right away. This is a sir. which is like a U with a tail. This is the T, which is like an reverse Y. This is the K, which is like a sword. This is the knee, and again a sir. So can you see the sir and sir is the same, right? So U with the tail is a sir. Sir, ta, ka, ra, ni, name of the king. Sir, ta, ka, ra, ni, sa. Right? Now I am again going to present that coin back to you. Do you think you can read it? This one is
So,
sir.
So.
Sir, ta, ka. Yeah, is it easy? U with a tail. Y, sir, ta, a sword. Ka might be the later one. Could be difficult if I really try to put it up. Sir, ta, ka, ra, ni, sa. Right? So now we are able to read these coins, making the study, really interesting and very easy. The coin that I just showed to you, again, the Satavahana kings. And this is the map of a Greek traveler who wrote the Periplus of the Athenian Sea. So he has traveled from Mesopotamia through the Mediterranean Sea, the Red Sea, and he has come out here to Bombay or Mumbai and Vasai, Sopara. This person has landed on Sopara and Bhuj. And he says that, there is a king that is ruling in this place. And when I gave 12 coins of a Roman king, they gave me, when I gave 10 coins of a Roman king, they gave me 12 coins of an Indian king. Right? And this is the Roman coin that he's referring to, Roman coin of King Tiberius. Right? And so he says that when he gives this coin, which is over here, yeah, so he's been given back 10 coins of this king, and he calls him Nabarush, but his name is Nahapana, right? So this is the king Nahapana. If you could see now, we are able to see the portrait of an Indian king, with clearly showing the nose, the mouth, the head, and the war symbols he is using. So like, a thunderbolt and an arrow. And what this king has done is, earlier only the Greek king wrote in Greek and Indian script, right? This king, who is an Indian king called Nahapana, he is from a family called Shatra, Shaharata Shatra, right? And he writes in Greek as well as one script. And on one side, he writes his name in Brahmi, and on the other side, he writes his name in Kharoshti. So like 3 scripts on one coin, which is a very interesting and a very rare coin. We also get to notice war symbols on the coin where, like, kings have counter stamped each other's name on the coins. And then, like, these coins evolve. So there is a Kushana coin where you can see a Nandi, Lord Shiv, a king who is a Kushana king, and the altar, the kind of rituals he is performing. The Gupta Empire, where we have seen a lot of gold coins coming in, a lot of development into the city. These are like typical coins where the king clearly articulates his hobbies. So he is very much interested in archery, and he shows that on his coins. And again, he writes in Brahmi script, which you are very clearly able to read. Chandragupta I and Chandragupta II are the two notable rulers, along with Samudragupta. Then comes a phase which is post-Gupta, where the coins have very less silver, right? So there is duplicate silver that is coming in. These are called as bull and horse coin. Can you see a bull over here and a horse over here and a person sitting over it? So this is the phase when India went through a time when there was no central ruler and there were a lot of small rulers, right? So the Rajputs at one end, Raja at other end, and the quantity of silver gets reduced because they are not economically that strong. They are not really able to win all the wars. And that's the time when Muhammad Ghori and Muhammad Ghazni took the opportunity and they started really attacking India, right? And that's where they started publishing coins at an onset where they started writing their names on the coins. So this is a bull, this is a horse, and they started writing their names. But in the Islamic culture, you really don't like having these images. So they really don't prescribe having images on the coin. But suddenly if you remove a coin, people may not really accept it. And that's where they started issuing coins. This is the coin of Iltutmish, right? If you could see this, there is a king with an horse, which really represents what you have on the slide. But on the other side, he just writes everything in Persian script. This is what is recommended in the culture, right? So don't have images, write what you want to describe. And that is also seen on the coins. And then, like, we have this entire dynasty that comes up. So Khilji's, Tughlaq, Lodi was a final in the Sultanate dynasty. And these are the kind of coins that they have minted. In their coins, everything is written in Persian. So they write the name of the king, where it was minted, the date of the coin. So this is how the coin looks. They have also used the border very effectively to, like, write the date of Khilafat, whom they used to refer to. And then the Mughals who come in, typical coin of Aurangzeb that have been seen, again follow the same pattern where the inscriptions are in Persian. So you have Babur, Akbar, Jahangir, Shah Jahan, Aurangzeb all trying to issue coins in this format. The coins are all having Persian legends or Arabic legends. This is the typical coin of Aurangzeb that you would see here. If you can see, it is written in Persian. This is Zarb. This U with two dots is Ba, so Zarb. And you can clearly read where this coin is minted. Here, this is Surat. Surat. So Zarb Surat means it is minted at Surat. Right? So that's the coin of Aurangzeb. Then we have the Maratha coinage of Chhatrapati Rajashiv. Right, so a typical coin that comes from that collection where you have Chhatrapati Sri Raja Shiv clearly written on the coins, right? So if you see the coin here, it is Chhatrapati Sri Raja Shiv. So while there are Persian coins that are getting issued in Maharashtra, you have a place from where you also have Devanagari legend coins that are getting issued. The key onset of the European rulers marks with, like, the defeat of Marathas at one end, and this is like a victory medal issued by the British when they defeated the Marathas in 1818, and this is like the medal when they defeated Tipu Sultan. A very emotional scene that has been shown over here. These are the two sons of Tipu Sultan who were given as hostages till the time Tipu Sultan paid back the entire money back to the British when he lost the war. So this is like, this original medal where sons of Tipu Sultan are being handed over to the British, right? And then you have the British, French, Portuguese coins coming in. Typically, British coins would have the Queen. Portuguese coins have a cross with a date, and they also tried to meet some Persian coins as well, the British. This specific coin, we'll try to conclude in like 5 minutes. Yeah. So this particular coin is been minted by the British, but Aurangzeb takes objection on this coin, saying that you can't issue coins with Persian legends. They can only be issued by the Mughal emperor, and they had to retrieve these coin backs, making them very rare. So this is how a British coin would really look. 1 rupee 1911, very standard, 11 grams of silver. And finally, we come to, like, an independent India coinage. You must have seen a lot of coins of this era. And this is how the journey of coin goes in, right from the development of its technology to the time when it has the cultural impact, and finally the independent India coinage. So that's where I would like to stop and conclude. Any questions that you have can be taken up, or we can definitely meet some other time to talk more, because there is another advanced set of coins that we can show you where we will only talk of stories behind a coin that comes up. Yeah, so that's where I would like to stop.
Anybody with any questions, you can ask sir. 1 or 2 questions we can take. 1 or 2 questions, anybody? Students? Unmute yourself and just, you can ask. I have a question, Pascal. Where are you getting all these rare coins from?
Ma'am, I had the same question.
Yeah, somebody else had the same question. Where are you getting all these rare coins from?
Yeah, so I am collecting right from the school days. So initially, there was a lot of coin that are given by friends. That time they were like very easily available. A lot of old houses in Vasai, Dhanu, Palghar, where I have really moved and traveled around. My dad really supported me to do that. So I was able to get hold of a lot of coins from there as well. People really gave it for certain items in exchange. Uh, and at this point of time, I think social media helps me really reach out to people and get them as well. And lastly, as I pointed out, there are a lot of auction houses. So if there are very specific coins that I don't have and they really make an impact with the subject that I'm collecting, then I buy it out from there as well. So there's a huge journey in like how they have been collected.
Right. Anybody else with a question? Somebody else had the same question that I asked, but anybody else with a question?
Yeah. Yes, Pascal.
Yes.
Sir,
Madam, you can put
it's
on,
not a question.
please.
Video?
Yeah, if you can put on your video.
Yeah. Sir, I just, it's not a question, but I want to ask.
Mhm.
I have some collection of coins,
Mhm.
but I don't understand,
Sure.
like, as you said, story behind the
Right.
coins. So I will like to meet you regarding that and understand better.
Sure, definitely. And
Thank you so much.
we can always share images on WhatsApp, and I can help you identify them as well. And we can always meet when time permits.
Yes, thank you so much.
Sure.
Right. Pascal said that was our principal, and she's very much interested in coin collection, etc. So
Okay.
maybe
In
sometime.
that case, I will.
Principal, yeah.
In that case, I will come out there. Right? You did not.
Yes, thank you so much.
Right. Because of pandemic, our restrictions are there of not moving
Yeah,
around,
yeah.
Yes,
etc.
Yes.
So some other time, Pascal, definitely we would love to have you for any session like that.
Sure.
Where, we can, we can have more discussion, etc.
Sure.
My dear students, you are very well, I'm sure you are very much enlightened by what sir has shared with you. And in a way, it was a multidisciplinary discussion because you talked about economics like trade and trade practices of barter, and then how it was necessary for us to move on to, the necessity of having some kind of a currency as such. You also talked about metals and stone coins, etc. So little bit of chemistry also came in there. And definitely history though was there, only political science was there. So this is the trend today, to look at any topic from a multidisciplinary point of view. And very well you did it, Pascal sir. I'm sure you have generated interest in everybody, and they will all be going back. Like I never knew that the rim of a coin and the edge of a coin are something different. So we will be looking at coins and money with a very different perspective, thanks to you. Students, I must add this on that Pascal was my student. When I was a school teacher, I have taught Pascal chemistry, I think. I taught.
Yes. Absolutely. Yes.
And Pascal has been a student with multiple facets. You can make out that he's intelligent. I need not tell you this. His discussion, his analysis definitely proves his intellect. He was a very good student, studious. He was also good on the sports field. That was another thing. He had this habit of collecting coins, etc., right from school age. So you can make out that there is, students who shine further on are often students with multiple talents. And Pascal is a living example of that. I hope as teachers, you are able to develop, when you go and join schools later, please encourage such hobbies. This will keep students away from mischief. So have such kind of speakers talking to your students. Today, children are addicted to things that they should not be involved with. We need such kind of healthy hobbies. So I hope this inspires you not only to look at coins from a different perspective that you will do only, but also to think about healthy hobbies for your students. Pascal, it was such a pleasure having you with us. I'm enriched. I feel like going, and I will not feel like, I will delve deeply into what you spoke about. And I'm sure our student teachers also will. So on behalf of the entire college, Pascal, a very, very grateful thanks to you for this enlightening session.
Thank you very much. The pleasure was all mine. Thanks a lot for having me.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Thanks.
You have a question? Okay, we'll give
Yeah.
you.
Very
Shailja.
small one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go on,
Sometimes
Shailja.
sometimes certain coins are made on special occasions in India. So, how can we understand that and, keep it with us and
Yeah.
like that?
No, very nice question. I think very relevant to the current times. So those are called as commemorative coins, the coins that have been minted on special occasions. I think the 10 rupee coins that have been minted have some excellent design. So try to collect the 10 and 5 rupee coins if you can, where you would have one of the coin of 10 rupee. I don't know if you have seen it, but there is Mahatma Gandhi as when he's known as Bapu, and Mahatma Gandhi when he has come back from South Africa with a coat and tie. Very interesting coin is really available in the market. If you just keep turning around your coin, you will get it. And then there is on Baba Saheb Ambedkar. You have coin on Mother Teresa in 5 rupees, Saint
Yes, that's
Alfonso in 5 rupees, uh, and many more, right? So I think commemorative coins, as we call them, which are minted on specific occasions, try to put them in form of a theme. So like, 10 rupees a set, there are like 24 coins that they have issued, and 5 rupee there are enormous. So try to like see if you can collect those. That can be a very good collection, and like later on it can become a very good investment as well. So yeah, I hope I answered that question, but that's my view on commemorative.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Thank
Great.
you, Pascal, for answering the questions and the queries of our students. God bless you, and may you complete your PhD soon. So next time when we have you, we will be calling you Dr. Pascal Lopes. Right?
Sure.
yes, yes.
Thanks.
Tremendous blessings for that, Pascal. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah.